Today we're talking about Black Mask. Last we saw of him, Roman Sionis had taken on this identity in order to get revenge against Bruce Wayne, only for his plans to fall flat on his face and for him to wind up in Arkham Asylum. This time we'll see how things go for him and why things are going to be different this time around, which we'll get into at the end of this video. Before we talk about that, be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out our Patreon page, the link to which you can find in the video description below. One night in Gotham City, two masked criminals break into a jewelry store. They move quickly, setting the establishment ablaze, but one of the crooks drops their mask in the fire as they flee. The next day, the owner of the building, Bruce Wayne, drops by to survey the scene. Journalist Vicky Vale informs Bruce that the store's sprinkler system was deliberately disabled on the night of the robbery. The police are confused as to the nature of the crime, since starting a fire to cover the robbery would have been a waste of time. Bruce asks if Vicky wants to join him for a date, but she rejects the invitation. For Bruce, who is already feeling down and stressed out about his double life as Batman, this is just yet another recent failure, so he turns his attention to the crime scene. He returns to the scene at night, this time as Batman, and discovers the burnt-up mask, taking it back to the cave for further analysis. Meanwhile, Roman Sionis is broken free of Arkham with a group of inmates. He returns to the Sionis family crypt and reforms the False Face Society of Gotham. Roman has also found a new lieutenant, a man who goes by the name Tattoo. Roman views his face tattoos as a mask similar to the one now permanently burned to his face, and thus lets Tattoo be the only member of his gang not to wear an actual mask. Ever the destroyer of his family's legacy, Roman burns down his family crypt, and his group sets out for a new beginning. At the Batcave, Tim Drake joins Bruce, who gets a call from Lucius Fox. Another building owned by Wayne Enterprises has been the target of arson. The attacks have started to take a toll on the financial well-being of the company. Knowing Roman was among a recent batch of the escapees, it doesn't take long for Batman and Robin to set their sights on him. Elsewhere, the False Face Society tracks down Circe, who has started living on her own in the streets. She agrees to return to Roman's side as his bride in crime. Batman and Robin are able to stop another group of arsonists, and Bruce approaches Roman in disguise. Roman shows that he has a new weapon in his war against Bruce Wayne, and reveals he captured Lucius Fox. Bruce ultimately has to intervene to save his friend's life, and is discovered by Black Mask. He is only saved by Circe, who stops Roman from shooting Bruce dead, and thanks to this, Bruce and Lucius are able to escape when Bruce uses a smoke bomb and the two dive through a window. Batman is able to engineer the arrest of the False Face Society while he goes to confront Tattoo and Roman, who have fled to a harbor. Roman's lieutenant proves a formidable opponent that Batman is injured in the process of defeating. By the time he corners Roman, he is unable to stop the villain from jumping into the water. Exhausted and badly beaten, Bruce is forced to rely on police divers to go looking for Roman. They find a body, but it is not his, instead that of a Wayne executive whose face was dyed black. The real Black Mask must have slipped away during Batman's fight with Tattoo. Bruce, already stressed out and dealing with a growing midlife crisis, does not take this well, realizing Roman has merely put his war on all things Wayne on hold. Batman has failed. So there we have it, the second major story to feature Black Mask, taking place about 7 or 8 years after his original introduction. This is an interesting story because we're essentially seeing the other side of Doug Moench's writing. On the one side was a pre-crisis Batman, where they were still figuring things out, and Roman was basically like any other villain from the Silver Age of Batman comics. On the other side, we're in the 90s, we're on sort of the near end of Doug Moench's time with Batman, and everything's a little bit different. Black Mask is suddenly far less of a traditional villain and more of a grounded character. Even the events of his origin are cast in a darker light that better show how brutal Roman already was as a character. The artwork in this comic leaves a little bit to be desired, in my opinion, and clearly exists in a sort of transition period from the 80s to the 90s. A couple of panels and covers are great, but a lot of pages are awful and look very quickly sketched together. This big panel is supposed to be powerful and intimidating, but just comes across as very goofy. It feels like Black Mask still has a little bit to go before his character is fully realized. And we'll cover these changes as we make a march towards the story that would come to define Black Mask as a character. But until then, be sure to subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching Comic Island.